Thank you.
Thank you. Which raises a question for Mr. Sanchez then. What does that do to notice and
Scott Sanchez, Planning Department.
appeal processes?
In regards to notification, I would argue that since the project, the proposal, has already been through the Section 311 notification and subject to a discretionary review before the Planning Commission, that requiring the separation of the permit would not trigger a new neighborhood notification unless if the design of that front structure was enlarged in some way. It's already been thoroughly vetted by the Planning Commission. I think this is more akin to a revision permit or something along those lines. It's not substantial new deviation from the original project. In terms of appeal process, yes, that would have the 15-day appeal to this board after the permit issuance.
So planning thinks that this is predominantly a building code issue.
Yes.
And we can move into public comment then. Is there anyone here who would like to speak on this matter? Please step forward. You have 1 minute.
I'm a neighbor homeowner on Granada for 7 years and sister of Diane, and I work in San Francisco.
I'm sorry, as a family member, you need to speak under the time allotted to the party.
Oh,
You said you're her sister, the appellant's sister?
but I also live in the neighborhood, so I can't speak?
A sister in a separate household?
It's okay.
Okay, go ahead.
You know, you waited
Thank
all
you.
this way, right? Madam
I moved to the
President.
neighborhood to Granada to share care of my mother, my nephew, and to help in their garden. Planning aims to maintain the historic feel of a neighborhood that has this is a very cottagey neighbor feel. The worst impact of this design is to the rear of the property. The hyper-modern roof line will loom over the yard. Birds in my sister's apple tree won't hop to the next yard. Instead, they'll fly up into a glass wall. Privacy while gardening will be gone for my mother, which is her whole world right at the moment, at the age of 89. Their new garden area in the shadow of our house features trees against the property line, which I fear will grow into the foundation. On my block, there are two modern, massive buildings, and they throw their neighbors into shadow. It's ugly. And I'm also fearful because he has in the past done a lot of work on his own to the front of the structure, to the fence line. So I'm just sort of curious how that will unfold. And I'm worried for my sister and my nephew.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Step forward. Sir, if you're going to speak as well, I'd appreciate it if you step forward. Anyone who wants to just come and line up. Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Dugan Moore, and I'm a San Francisco resident, a property owner, not too far away. I've lived in my home, my house that I own, for 18 years. I'm here to support Muriel, Maffrey, and Ben Pierce's project at 71 Granada. I've known them for 10 years, and I can vouch for their integrity and their instinctive sense of fairness. They are unpretentious people who seek to create a modest home that's reasonably larger than the miniature 660 square feet that they have been inhabiting as this process extends into its fourth year now. I understand the issues that could come up because I did my own remodel as well, and their outreach to the neighborhood has just been exceptional in my experience. They've met with neighbors. They've changed their plans to accommodate Ms. Rosen's conflicts, and they've participated in community boards, etc. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
I'm Dave Gardner. I live right across the street, 74 Granada, and I submitted a letter. I don't know if you got it. Looking at all this project and following along for the last 4 years, I'm hoping this just gets moved forward and closes the window on this delay process. Quick comment on the objections. Too massive for the location in the block area there. Didn't seem to be a problem when she expanded her place 628 feet and created something that looks like a Home Depot building in the middle of our block. As far as out of character with the building starting at the back of the lot and moving forward, well, that complaint's about 100 years too late, because that's where it starts and that's where they're building from. So if it was good enough for the last 100 years, I think we can live with it.
Thank you very much.
Next speaker, please.
My name is Joram Altman. I'm the architect on the project. And I just wanted to...
Is this with the project?
Yes.
You can speak in their rebuttal time then.
Oh, I see.
Thank you.
Sorry.
And we will move into rebuttal now, starting with the appellants. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you, board members. Steve Lightfoot again on behalf of the appellant. I'll keep my comments very brief. The genesis of the comments of it being too bulky and massive and out of character for the neighborhood are not ours. They started with the residential design team who reviewed this project, and I want to make clear that there was no connection between the DR request and the residential design team's review. Those were two independent things. And in fact, Ms. Rosen didn't even know that a residential design team had looked at this project and made the findings that they did until shortly before the hearing. So there's no connection between those two things. Mrs. Rosen didn't cause that residential design team to do anything. There was no influence there. This was their own independent review that found that this project was out of character, too massive, too bulky, and all of the other reasons that are in their report that are attached to our brief. But let me leave the board with this, and that is the opening to the residential design guidelines. And the interrogatory that's asked at the outset is, why do we have residential guidelines? And in short, it says, in order to maintain the visual interest of a neighborhood, it is important that the design of new buildings and renovations to existing buildings be compatible with nearby buildings. A single building out of context with its surroundings can be disruptive to the neighborhood character and, if repeated often enough, to the image of a city as a whole. Thank you for your consideration. We would ask that the board overturn the Commission's finding and reinstate the RDT's finding that discretionary review be taken and the project modified in line with the RDT suggestions. Thank you.
Council, there might be a couple questions. I have one for you. Is it true that your client's home, I guess, property, building, is 35% smaller than the appellant's?
To be candid with you, I haven't done a side-by-side percentage measurement. Currently, the existing permit holder's home is smaller, for sure. We can see that in the pictures. I don't know if it's 35% smaller.
All right, thank you. Okay, then that's it. Thank you.